My name is Candace Torian.
Starting from the age of 7, Candace was repeatedly molested and raped by this 37-year-old caretaker that had been responsible for taking care of her and her father's land.
It's painful. It's painful for sure. Never said anything, kept quiet because I had fear that I was in trouble or fear that it was my fault. Just that I was the one wrong.
The acts were absolutely heinous that this young child had to go through.
It changed my life. It was 4 years of my childhood that got stripped away from me, and I had to become independent at such a young age.
And one of the subjects was on pedophilia. And she learned that this is a recidivist type of crime. And when she learned that information, she decided that she wanted to protect other potential victims.
I wanted to speak up because I wanted to protect other women.
When she learned that this could happen again to another child, then she became really concerned, and that was truly altruistic.
It was on a weekend, and a major assault came out, and we ended up calling the police.
She had to face her attacker. She had to testify in open court.
It was really hard at the end when I had to say my impact statement.
The kind of trauma that this defendant imposed on her, I mean, that's something that's going to stay with her for a lifetime. So she thought a life sentence was justified in the case. He got 94 years and 8 months in prison.
I work hard, I go to school, I have my goals in life, and it's just about being positive and staying happy, really. Just, I mean, it's not worth it to have negative things in your life, and just to embrace what's good and move on, really, just to move on.
So I believe that she would like to continue to educate the public on, what's inappropriate and what should be reported.
I guess I could just say that all girls are beautiful, and you have courage inside of you. You can make it through anything. You just have to be brave, and that you're strong enough. And there's women that care about you. You have to find someone that you can trust.
She just never gave up, and so I just think she's an inspiration.
My name is Candace Torian, and I am a citizen of courage.
My name is Adriana Camacho.
Gail Shea was found in a canyon area. Her body was found in a canyon area behind the Aerospace Museum in Balboa Park. An autopsy showed that she had been strangled and stabbed to death.
In the time when she died, she had a daughter, and so I was like 10 years old. Made me think, oh God, I could be the next, and I have 2 daughters. What would happen with them?
Adriana Camacho showed up basically at my doorstep. She came into the DA's office and kind of laid a bomb on me. And that was that the suspect, who had recently been paroled back to San Diego, was trying to rekindle their relationship. He lets out that he had killed 2 people in the past.
I couldn't believe it. I was afraid.
We had a hotel room that we were able to wire for sound and be able to listen to a conversation live that she was having with the suspect. And that would be the only way that we would know for sure whether or not he was actually involved in this murder.
I tried to put my feelings away, to don't think and nothing, just think and be brave, and don't be afraid of him in that moment.
There's no question she put herself in peril by doing this.
We start talking about his life, his past, and little by little, I feel confident to ask him about the case, and I did. And he told me.
It's like she was a well-seasoned detective. She kept on him and pushing him for more information about his life until finally he told her what he described as his deepest, darkest secret, and gave her details about this murder that only, in my opinion, the killer would have known.
God, my whole body went cold and my heart was beating so fast, and I was more afraid, but well, I was there for one reason. For me, know the truth and have justice was something that I couldn't stop.
There's no way that this case would have resolved the way it did without Adriana Camacho. Adriana herself was always, throughout this case, on the cusp of being homeless.
I'm still afraid every single day. He tried once to send somebody from prison to kill me. He could do it again, but doesn't matter. You know, my purpose in this life. God gave me a chance to be here. Now I know why.
Of all the cases I've been involved in, Adriana Camacho stands out. You know, asked her several times, you know, why are you doing this? And her resolve is always the same. I just want to know the truth. It's about doing the right thing. And she did that throughout. She always did the right thing.
My name is Adriana Camacho, and I'm a citizen of courage.
My name is Melissa Soren.
And as she walks across one of the streets, there's a van parked with a male outside of the van.
This man, he was standing right there. Then he grabbed me and pulled me into the car.
According to Melissa, shut the door. It was a sliding door on this white van. And then she struggled with him and started screaming.
He covered my mouth, then I scratched him in the face.
And bit this stranger, which was a very large individual, much, much larger than Melissa.
What were you thinking at that moment?
Scared.
Ultimately, she was able to get away, and the man jumped into the front driver's seat and then fled the scene. One of the things that turned out to be vitally important in this case, and in solving this case, was that Melissa scratched this man, and part of that man's DNA was on her fingers. A couple months later, they got a hit, who ironically is a registered sex offender. So police ultimately solved this crime based on Melissa's actions in saving, in my opinion, her own life, and in ultimately scratching this individual. Even with the DNA evidence, we still needed her to testify as to what happened to her. We learned through the investigation and speaking to her teachers and also her family that she does have a learning disability and was a little delayed. Her teachers indicated that she was selectively mute, meaning that she would not often talk to people. Most of the time, she would just look down and either nod her head or shake her head or not respond. But two things were critical. One was the victim advocate in this case, Nori Figueroa, who spent numerous days and efforts in meeting with the victim and myself and getting her to be comfortable and actually trying to get her to tell us what happened. And also the canine support. Nori the dog was just fantastic in this case. It's unbelievable, the strides that she took in getting to the stand and testifying from when I first met her, and she would not even tell me her name. She was probably the most courageous victim I've ever encountered in my career as a prosecutor. If it weren't for her courage in fighting back, in screaming, in yelling, in trying to get away, in running to school, in scratching this individual, this case would never have been solved. It was night and day from when I first met Melissa. I'd like to think that in this really dark process that she's benefited in some sense.
My name is Melissa Soren, and I'm a citizen of courage.
My name is Viola Contreras. We got to the corner, and then that's when he charged at me.
either a meth-induced or a psychotic episode, running after people, running after buses, armed with knives, and then he decides to pick her as his prey. It comes out of nowhere when she realizes he has a knife and is saying, "You're dead," to her, yelling, "You're dead," to her, and then trying to stab her.
When he went to stab me, I moved out the way. I wanted to just run away, but I couldn't because it was the street and there's traffic and there's nowhere to go.
911 emergency, Rebecca.
Hello, there's this weird guy and he has a knife in his hand and he's wearing a red and a white sweater.
He sharpened the knife on the wall. I told the guy that don't go after him because he has a knife and he could hurt you too. I didn't want no one else to get hurt. Oh, it was very hard. I was gonna back out, but something kept telling me that someone else could get hurt, and because he was his own attorney.
It's ratcheted up to a whole nother level when she has to now face him, answer questions from him directed to her about the incident where he victimized her.
It was frightening.
Why?
Because I wasn't sure how it would go, and I'm not a big fan for a big crowd, so I was very nervous.
And what people, I think, in the jury box didn't know is that when she came to prelim, she was throwing up before she testified. She had true issues with facing her attacker. And having to take on that challenge of facing him in court demonstrates courage to a level that no victim should have to face when they come into court. She knew the significance of her testimony, and she appreciated it, and she did our community a great service when she testified to make sure that justice was done.
The dog helped me, and I didn't want no one else to get hurt.
Strength that comes from the fact that she knew that she was helping our community to help put a very violent man in the place where he belongs, which is in prison for a lengthy sentence.
Chris back here and everybody said that you were very courageous and that you were an amazing young woman. What do you think about that?
Well, he's an amazing attorney.
Viola's been dealt a very tough hand with her mild mental retardation, with her cerebral palsy, and despite being dealt tough cards, she plays them, and she plays them with strength and courage.
My name is Viola Contreras, and I'm a citizen of courage.
My name is Mary Theresa Brooke.
The defendant found Mary, unfortunately, in the post office parking lot and tried to carjack her. It's a female. Not only is it a female, but it's an older woman. I'm going to be able to get this car no problem.
This fellow yanks my car door open, and he stands here like this and says, "Get out of the car." First of all, he belted me all the time with his fist, always here, you know. Beat me again, beat me again. It went on and on that I said to myself, now, how long is this going to last until I pass out?
There were mirrors broken within the vehicle. You could see blood spatter all over the dash.
What I did not realize was that I had my seatbelt still on, and that really saved my bacon. And I looked at my door, and I took it and closed it and locked it.
It was amazed that somebody was able to walk away from the beating that she took. Certainly a woman that's 86 years old.
I was black and blue all over. He broke my bone in here, and I have a plate in there and 6 screws still. Everybody told me I should have given him the car. But I said, no, it's the principle.
I don't think this defendant thought he would be fighting basically with all his might to try to get this car from a 80-something-year-old woman.
I do not believe in giving in to somebody like that, you know?
Sometimes I have very reluctant victims because they don't want to face the defendant, the person that victimized them. They're very scared, fearful. What happens if they get out? Are they going to come after me? Mary was nothing like that.
He looked at me and I said to myself, you don't stare me down. And I looked at him and like, you know, I didn't want to give him any credit.
She is a very determined woman that is strong and doesn't back down to anybody or anything. And that's basically how she was throughout this case.
It's beyond me that she would nominate me, because I didn't think I was doing that much, you know. I just defended myself. You know what I mean?
Not only did she show courage that day when she fought back, which ultimately led to the apprehension of the defendant, but for her fighting back and maintaining possession of her vehicle, we might not have caught him.
I can't thank her enough. I can't even talk about it. I would cry. Really. Because she was so good to me, and still is. And I mean, that she nominated me and all that. I would fight him again, I tell you that. Only better, or maybe better, you know. My name is Mary Theresa Brooke, and I'm a citizen of courage.